going to be doing the second half of the major arcana in the tarot. Remember, there are 22 major arcana cards. They're actually numbered from 0 to 21, which makes a grand total of 22. Before we get started, I've lit my candles. I've got some nice meditative music in the background. One of my favorites is called Liquid Mind. They've put out a lot of CDs and they are just heavenly. I mean, the music just takes me to such high realms. So if you can find Liquid Mind on YouTube or order a CD, I promise for meditative purposes you will not be disappointed. We're going to go from number 11, which was the Justice card, into number 12, which is called the Hanged Man. Now remember, a lot of these cards have some startling imagery on them. Some of the imagery is very old symbolism, but we're just going over the basic meanings of the cards right now to give you more of an idea how to use the major arcana in your everyday life. I usually see the major arcana as a major spiritual message when I see it in a reading or I'm reading for myself. So the Hanged Man, you can see obviously here's this person hanging upside down. He's got one leg crossed. His arms are behind his back, but by no means is he there because he has to be there. He's there by choice. What this means is that when this comes up in a reading, very often the person getting the reading is in a time of suspension. They may be in a time of things seeming to be bottled up, nothing's happening, nothing's moving, and so it says stop struggling, just sit back, just let the flow begin again. It's kind of like turn to heaven for your answers and really let it come naturally. The Hanged Man is someone through sacrifice. They are working toward their goals. So it is a card of maybe some sacrifices needed in order to get to the next step. This is a very, very high card because you can see the illumination around his head, the aurora there, and that just means that taking time out and meditating and thinking about things before taking action, the answers will come, one will become illuminated, and then one can start moving forward with their life once again. That's number 12, that's the Hanged Man. Moving along to card 13, obviously the Death card, when someone sees this who does not know the tarot, they get in absolute abject terror. They feel like, oh my God, I'm going to die, or somebody's going to die around me. Very seldom does this have the actual meaning of death. Maybe someone has somebody in their family who's very, very elderly and they're lingering on, and so yeah, you might feel like, well, they're getting close to make the transition. Here is one point I want to make during a reading. You never ever tell someone they're going to die or someone around them is going to die. Now, I've actually had readings where spouses have come to me and said, is my husband or my wife going to die soon? Hoping that that's going to happen. And, I just look at them and go, well, that is something that I can't tell you because that goes against my code of ethics. But when this card does come up, soothe your person, your client, your query, and say this just means that a major transition is taking place. There's a rebirth of sorts. Something old is passing out of your life and something new is taking its place. And that could be like an old job, and then that old job is finishing, and then a brand new job and a brand new beginning is happening. So this is a card of transformation. This could also represent someone who's been maybe difficult in their lives, or they've been very angry, or they treat others very, very badly. And through their own life experiences, they learn compassion and kindness, and so they go through a complete transformation. So this could be transformation in any area of one's life, or a business, or anything else. It's going through a change. Maybe a business isn't doing very well, so they're going to have to adopt new ideas, new policies, and it's maybe like chapter 7 in a bankruptcy. You know, they've just got to refile and start again. So when the death card comes up, just say, look, the sun is rising, there's a new dawn ahead. The old is passing away, the new is coming in. The king is dead, long live the king. That's what the death card means. The temperance card may be a card for some people that's difficult to read. I know for me, sometimes I get stuck with this card, and there will be cards that you get stuck with. There will be cards that you look at and they just look like a two-dimensional flat card. You get nothing from it. You might feel like you're panicking because I can't tell what this means. I just don't get any feelings. And that's when I say always go back to a starting point in your reading. Go back to something that is speaking to you. And then you can move on, and then the flow starts again. Sometimes a card will come up and you'll tell your client, you know, I'm not getting anything from this particular card, so we're going to move on to something else, and then hopefully the information will start flowing through. It's perfectly okay to do that. People really appreciate honesty. You know, they don't want to be told something just because you're stuck and you're just going to tell them anything. It's better to be honest and say, let's move on to something else within the reading because this one just isn't quite giving me the information yet. Basically, temperance means a coming together of opposites. It means a blending of things. Archangel Gabriel here is blending one kind of liquid with another. It's like oil and vinegar, you know, usually they don't mix, but in a way you can always get opposites to come together and blend to make some kind of a new element or something new that does work. It can be a card of harmony. It just means, hey, just take your time, take a look at something. It's not hopeless. Just give it time to work itself out. Now, oftentimes, I'll give you tidbits about card meanings as I go along here in the movies, but sometimes when this card comes up, and like if the moon card, which we'll talk about in a minute, comes up, you know, I might feel like somebody needs to either get their prescription checked, or they may need to change their prescription if it's not working. Often this card has a feeling of pharmaceuticals to me, you know, anything that is blended together to bring about a product. This is what the temperance means. It just means take your time, move slowly, and let things fall into place. There you go. Here's another scary card. In fact, the devil card is a card that a lot of certain religious institutions or people in general who do not know what the tarot really is and have not studied it, they look at that and go, well, the tarot deck is of Satan. It's evil. And it's because of this one card. All this card is, even though it's very scary looking, represents people who are out of balance in their lives, people who are maybe living the lower end of life. They might be stealing, murdering, they might even be in constant depression, so deep that they just can't seem to come out of it. They feel like they're just chained to a situation and there's no way out. It's very bleak. And so they let their fears take over. What this card might mean is someone who's let their fear overcome them and they can't move, they can't operate, they can't think in a way that will bring them into a much better place. So they're totally out of balance. And yet if you look closely at the chains around the necks of these two hapless people, you will see that they can remove the chains. The chains are loose. They don't have to stay in this situation forever. So that someone who has the devil card come up may be needing some real serious help. But again, in going through the reading, you can give people information that's good for them, that will help them see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that things do not remain dark forever. So that's basically what the Devil card is all about. It's like in other words, if you want to say the devil is messing with me, trying to make my life a disaster, everything goes wrong, you have to get out of that way of thinking and into more positive action, and then, move along to the next stage of your life again. If you'll notice, these cards are a progression. It's like the Fool is continuing on her journey through life, has to experience certain trials and tribulations, and one of them is overcoming fear or living a better life or being a better person. And for that, they will find themselves, lifted out of the pit, so to speak, and into the light again. There you go. There's the Devil card. That's all it is. If it comes up reversed, you can say, well, you might have some momentary fears, but they're going to pass. They're going to pass. Don't worry about it. Again, it all depends on the situation of, whoops, I dropped it, the person who's getting the reading. Of course, if this comes up and you're giving a reading for yourself, as I always tell my students, be very careful about giving yourself readings, because you're going to look at a card and you're going to gasp and you're going to go, oh my gosh, there's the Devil, there's the Tower, there's the Nine of Swords, oh my goodness, my life is over. You've got to take it with a grain of salt, especially when you're learning, and then as you build networks with other people and get reading from other people, they might not see that card as dire as you will see it. So, once again, caution is advised when you read for yourself. Here's another scary card, the Tower. The Tower is representative of something that happens that's very sudden. It might come out of the blue, and one's life is turned upside down. Now, these energies could be very quick, or they could, have a long haul effect. But basically, it means you're going along, you think your life is great, maybe your relationship is real good, and you think you're solid, and then you find out they're cheating on you, which is not the absolute meaning of this card, by the way. But that's just an example where your life just gets totally upended, and for a while there, you just feel like, you might have had a bomb drop right on your head. That's the meaning of the Tower. And again, when that card shows up in a reading, or if it's in a position of the future, you warn somebody. You say, just be very careful when you're driving your car, be very vigilant. I'm not necessarily getting a car accident, but there is something that may occur. If you're not paying attention, you need to pay attention. You need to be aware of what's going on around you. You need to see the truth of what's going on around you, and don't live in a cloud. You really need to have your feet on the ground and really know what's going on. Does this mean that somebody has to be highly paranoid and suspicious? No, but they need to be in touch with themselves and their lives. Now, you can't always avoid the impact of the Tower, or one cannot always avoid it, but when you see the yods coming down, and you'll see these yods, these like little teardrop things coming down, that usually means there's a blessing involved. So that behind the clouds and behind the storm, there is usually a blessing that is going to come. And maybe the universal forces need to move you out of your current situation by something drastic to get you to wake up, a wake-up call, so to speak, and get you changed to where you're supposed to be on a spiritual level, getting you back on track with your spirituality. So again, when the Tower comes up, try not to freak too much. Temper it a little bit. It could be something as simple as, well, what am I trying to think of? Just a very quick happening that, is annoying. You might miss you might miss your airplane, when you're on your way for a trip. This doesn't mean that your plane is going to crash, by the way. But again, you always try and give an upside to a card if it comes up and it's scary looking. Here's a card that everyone loves. This is the Star. It is my personal favorite of the tarot deck. You see a major star in the middle, and then all these little stars. It's got high astrology significance. The star mainly means that there is hope for the future. It's hope and inspiration. What it means is that if someone in their life, once again, is having to wait for something to happen, that thing is coming. The ship is coming in, but one again is staying in the light of spirit, and they're doing what they have to do right now to get through, and hoping that whatever the situation is, whether it be the new job or the relationship, that they're guaranteed that that situation is going to be coming to them. It's a card of high astrological influences, so when I'm teaching you which cards have the sun sign attached, you'll see more about what I'm talking about. The star is ruled by the sun sign Aquarius, so that anyone who's born during that sun sign, that definitely is their card in the tarot deck, and it's a beautiful card to have. So again, it just means taking one's time, looking toward a brighter day, that day is guaranteed, and they take care of business in the meantime, and it can also instill a warm, wonderful feeling of, okay, I'm being taken care of. I'm not alone. The divine is looking after me, and things are really, really coming my way. This is something to look forward to. The moon card for some people has different feelings attached to it. To me, it's not a bad card. The moon just represents the nighttime as opposed to the sun, which is coming up here next for the daytime. You know, at night things are darker, the trees have shadows. In caveman times, you know, before they even had fire, it was a very frightening time. People huddled together. They couldn't see what was out there. They couldn't see what danger was lurking. The moon is also represents one's dreams and one's subconscious mind. So that if this card came up, I would ask someone, you know, how have your dreams been lately? Have they been very vibrant, very clear? Are they frightening? Are you having nightmares? Also, it's a very high time of great psychic and intuition. If the moon moves into its full phase, you know, at the full moon, we're highly psychic, highly psychic. So that's why I always say, watch the moon phases on my website, or look at your calendar, because you'll find, you know, that at the full moon, you're highly sensitive, but also, you know, they call it moon madness. And, you know, people feel like at the full moon, there's a lot of things going on. Hospitals are very busy. You know, people just are totally imbalanced, and that's because the moon, which represents moving our tides, the ebb and flow of our tides, you know, we could experience a real influx of emotions, and they might not be positive emotions, and one might feel tearful or kind of in the blues, you know, because of the phase of the moon even, and especially women, because this is a card of intuition, and of course women are highly sensitive to the monthly cycle. Okay, so you've got the dog, and then you've got the wolf, and then here's the subconscious mind. This little crab is kind of creeping out of his pond, and he's trying to figure out how to get along this roadway, past these dogs and through these towers here, the towers of balance, without getting gobbled up. So this little crab, of course, is going to have to use, or lobster, whatever it is, uses intuition and use a way of getting through, not necessarily by the brain, but just by gut instinct. Okay, so when this card comes up once again, one might be feeling highly emotional, kind of blue, feeling like their emotions are battering them around, or it could be a card of someone who has a mental imbalance. Now, you never say to a client, I see you have a mental imbalance, you'd better go to the psychiatrist. Of course, you never say that, but you might ask, you know, tiptoe around it. Are you feeling blue all the time? Has this been long term? This could represent someone who's been in and out of mental institutions. It represents somebody who might be delusional and might not see the world as it really is. And so this is a card of someone who could be extremely paranoid and again, not a very balanced person, but not usually because they've chosen that road, but because maybe of their chemical makeup. But I usually see it as a card that says, look at your dreams, look at what's going on in your subconscious mind, do your automatic writing and see what comes up. This too, this card, along with the devil, could indicate, I might say, you know, do you feel like your drinking is out of control, or is someone in your life drinking a lot, or, you know, it could have to do with substance abuse. That and the devil card, both are indicators of substance abuse or addictions. Okay, that's the moon. Moving along to one of everybody's favorite, the sun card. Happy, happy, happy. We've got the little child sitting on the pure white horse, the horse of strength. They've got the orange of creativity. They've got the sun coming down. This is a happy day. This is your day in the sun. This is your day to shine. Maybe something has happened. You've reached an achievement. You're being recognized for. You've been through a rough time, but now things are going really, really well. And all's well in the world again, and it's almost like a beautiful spring day after a very long, harsh winter. There's a lot of meanings for the sun, but it basically is happiness, joy, and with the orange representing creativity, it's a good creative time for someone to put their creative juices to work. You know, start working on that new project. The sun is the element of fire. Fire represents enterprise, ideas, putting things into action, projects. And this is a card of rest as well. Like you can, you know, you've put in your work, so you can definitely enjoy the benefits and just, you know, coast along and be happy for a while and just enjoy the time. Just enjoy the time. Beautiful card, number 19. The XX, number 20, the Judgment card. And another card that people have trouble with, when this card comes up, you've got, once again, Gabriel blowing the horn. You've got the resurrection pictured. You know, it's the day of final judgment. What's this red cross doing here? Basically, this card really does mean the fool is almost at the end of the journey. This is a time for them to truly, truly leave the old behind. There may be a long-term grief or a healing or a problem that someone has carried their whole life, and they're being asked to let go of it totally. Just let go of it. It's not worth it anymore. This is your time to wake up and to realize that you're actually a spirit inhabiting a human body, and that there is so much more to you than you can even imagine. It's a time of healing. It's a time of resurrection, as I say. And so you're going to need to just get the feelings you get from this card rather than trying to read it and you know, as with all the cards, you get the feeling from it. You know, in the beginning, you're going to be reading the meanings I have in the handbook, but you will begin to notice things coming to you. Sometimes when this card comes up, I'll ask someone, have you just been in the hospital recently, or you have a small little surgery coming up? You know, is there something that needs to be mended in your life and taken care of? You know, something that you've been putting off, but now you should really address and not ignore anymore. It actually is quite a beautiful card, because, you know, with resurrection comes brand new. And where the Tower and where some of the other cards, like the Death card of transition, this one really does mean a brand new beginning, as far as the slate is totally clean. All previous karma is suspended. You have a clean slate. You have an opportunity to start out brand new. So take advantage of it. Okay. Finally, last but not least, in the Major Arcana, one of the other favorite cards is the World. When the World comes up in a reading, you can see this woman is dancing on air. She's very free. She's like suspended. She's got her wands of creating, just like you'll see the Magician had in the number 1 card. but here attainment has been achieved. The Fool has reached the end of the journey, and they've got a go card, you know. They've got a green light. It's like you've done the work, you've been through the trials and tribulations, you've picked yourself up, and now is your time, even more so than the Sun. Now is your time to really start out on that journey and try something new, a completely new phase in a life. And it could be someone retiring after working for many, many years. And so they've reached the achievement. Once again, you've got that figure 8 or lemniscate here, so you'll see how some of these symbolisms repeat throughout the cards. And I'll tell you what, just like on the Wheel of Fortune, you've got these 4 figures here again, which are very ancient symbols, meaning different aspects of a human being. This card can also represent a long journey or someone taking a journey over water. That's one of the tidbits. Rather than a short 3-day or weekend trip, somebody is going across country, or they're going over water, or they have been recently. And once again, it's more like this is the big time vacation. This is happiness. The tools are there. They've got everything they need to begin again. So enjoy the world, because it's like get out of jail free. This is your card. This is a wonderful card when it comes up in a reading. You know, the world is the oyster, or the world is your oyster. Enjoy. Okay, so this is the end of the Major Arcana. We're going to go into the 4 suits of Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles, and that will be the next movie. We're going to talk about the 4 elements of fire, earth, air, and water that are attributed to these different suits. We're going to talk about which cards have astrological influences, how they can determine timing in a reading, how they can determine someone's personality by the astrological sign that they have, how to use all these things to give a comprehensive reading to someone. We will be also tomorrow night, hopefully you will have had a chance to watch this movie, because we are going to do a past, present, and future reading while we're on the phone. And do not be frightened about it. It's a lot of fun, and you know, just to see where you're at. Here we are at the end of the Major Arcana, going into the next 56 cards, which, like I say, you know, you'll see a pattern after a while, and it's not like you have to memorize each and every card. So it's bye for now, and thanks for watching.